Welcome to the deep dive. We're going to be tackling how voice assistants handle complex requests,
Yeah.
especially things like song titles or artist names or
Right, like entities.
like movie references and stuff.
Exactly. So,
We're diving deep into a research paper today
okay.
that explores ways to make virtual assistants better at understanding these entity-rich queries.
Okay, so like if I said, play Red Smoke by the Ratons,
Right.
and I don't have that like locally,
Yeah.
then it needs to go search a massive catalog.
Exactly.
And to do that, it needs to know what Red Smoke is and what the Ratons are.
Yeah, that's where things can get a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
Because assistants can struggle with rarer entities or things that aren't already in your library.
Okay.
So they might understand the words, but figuring out the right context can be challenging.
So what happens then? Does it just like give up?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay.
The researchers found that a surprising 36% of the time.
The correct answer is actually somewhere in the list of possibilities.
Okay.
It's just not ranked at the top.
So it's almost like it has all the pieces,
Yeah.
but it doesn't know how to put them together.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And that's where server-side rescoring comes in.
Server-side rescoring.
Yeah. So think of it this way. Your assistant's smart,
Okay.
but it has like limited resources on your phone or your smart speaker.
Uh-huh.
It's like trying to solve a complex problem in a tiny room.
Okay.
Server-side rescoring is like giving your assistant access to a massive library
Okay.
and a team of super smart helpers.
Well, I like that.
So it uses these powerful language models on a server to re-rank those initial guesses,
Okay.
drawing on much larger knowledge bases and algorithms.
So it's calling in the reinforcements.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And now the researchers didn't just use any language models for this. They tested 3 distinct types to see which ones were the most effective.
Oh, a language model showdown.
Yeah.
Okay, what were they?
All right, so we've got the classic N-gram language models.
Go again.
You can kind of think of these like autocomplete for words. They look at sequences of words to predict what comes next. So like if you type peanut butter and
Jelly.
exactly.
Okay.
An N-gram model would probably predict jelly.
Okay, so what was next?
Next up, we've got subword neural language models, or NNLMs for short.
NLMs.
These models break words down into smaller units,
Yeah.
which helps them to understand rare words or entities that traditional models might miss.
So they're like word detectives.
Yeah.
Looking for clues.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
So they can decipher even the most unusual terms by analyzing their subword components.
Okay, cool. And then the last one was GPT-3, right?
Yeah, they wanted to see how this massive general purpose model would perform compared to the more specialized N-gram and NNLM models.
Yeah, I'm curious, how did GPT-3 stack up against those other ones?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, so we've got the N-grams, we've got the word detectives,
Right, the NNLMs.
and we've got the AI superstar GPT-3.
Exactly.
So who won?
Well, all 3 models actually improved accuracy.
Oh, okay.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is that the subword neural language models, those NNLMs, really kind of stole the show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They boosted the accuracy, especially for those rarer entities.
Wait, so you're saying that the word detectives outperformed GPT-3?
Yeah.
That's kind of surprising.
It is, and it highlights a really crucial point.
Yeah.
Sometimes a specialized tool can outperform a general-purpose giant when it comes to specific tasks.
So it's like a master chef with a really fancy knife.
Right.
Versus a multi-tool.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Even though the multi-tool has more features.
I see what you're saying.
Right.
So it's not just about building bigger and more complex AI.
Right.
But it's about finding the right AI for the job.
Exactly.
Okay, so they didn't stop there, though.
Yeah.
They took this whole model thing one step further.
They decided to see what would happen if they combined the models.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
Combining them.
Yeah.
So you're making a dream team of AI specialists.
Yeah.
Each one bringing their own little skills to the table.
Exactly.
Okay, did this dream team perform well?
They absolutely did.
Okay.
Combining different models, like an N-gram model and a subword NNLM, produced the most impressive results.
Wow.
Yeah. Each model brought its own strengths.
Okay.
And working together, they were able to tackle those entity-rich queries with even greater accuracy.
So does this mean that in the future we might see more specialized AIs?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's something that researchers are definitely exploring. There's
Yeah.
a growing recognition that we might not always need a single AI that can do everything.
Okay.
Instead, we could have like a network of specialized AIs,
Oh.
each a master in its own domain,
Okay.
working together to solve these complex problems.
So imagine like a world where your voice assistant can understand requests.
Right.
Play that song from that movie with that actor who was in that other movie I can't quite remember the name of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this research suggests that that future may not be so far off.
Okay, cool.
But let's take a step back for a moment
Okay.
and recap what we've learned so far
Right.
about how these voice assistants are getting smarter.
Okay, so we learned that server-side rescoring is a game changer.
Right.
It's like giving your assistant a bigger brain.
Yeah, it's like giving it access to a much larger knowledge base
Yeah.
and a team of AI experts to help it understand those complex requests.
And then we've got these different types of language models
Right.
that each have their own strengths.
Yeah, and those subword neural networks,
Yeah.
particularly good at handling those less common entities.
And then maybe the biggest takeaway is that combining those different models,
Exactly.
it's all about teamwork,
It is.
even in the AI world.
Right. Each model brings something unique to the table.
Okay, so this leads to another question for me.
Okay.
If server-side rescoring can make such a big difference,
Yeah.
what other advancements are on the horizon?
Well, that's a great question, and that's where we'll pick up in the final part of our deep dive.
All right, so we're back, and we've been talking all about this server-side rescoring,
Yes.
making our voice assistants so much smarter. But before we go and think that voice assistants can do everything, like, what are researchers looking into?
Well, one really cool area is what's called knowledge distillation.
Okay, knowledge distillation.
Yeah, imagine like a really smart teacher
Okay.
passing on their knowledge to a less experienced student.
So the teacher would be like a huge language model.
Right, a really powerful one.
Okay.
And the student would be like a smaller, more efficient one.
Okay, so it's like taking all that info and shrinking it down.
Exactly. The idea is to train that smaller model to be just as accurate,
Wow.
but without needing as much power.
Okay, so that means that our devices could have like really smart assistants
Right.
without needing a ton of like computing power.
Exactly.
Okay, so what does this all mean like for the future of voice assistants?
Well, I think we're getting to a place where voice assistants are way more than just tools.
Uh-huh.
They're becoming like digital companions
Yeah.
that really get us in what we want.
So like they can help us manage our calendars and stuff.
Right. And as they get better at understanding us,
Yeah.
their potential just keeps growing.
So imagine like a voice assistant
Yeah.
that not only understands find me a good Italian restaurant,
Right.
but it knows that I like vegetarian food
Exactly. And that you're on a budget.
and that I like live music.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
It's all about personalization,
Yeah.
really understanding our needs.
This has been so interesting. I feel like I've learned so much about voice assistants,
You too.
like how complex they are and what they could be in the future.
We started with this question of how do we get them to understand these complex requests?
Yeah.
And it turns out there's a whole lot more to it than we thought.
It really makes you think about all the work that goes into something we use every day.
It really does.
So to everyone listening, next time you talk to your voice assistant,
Yeah.
think about how much is going on behind the scenes.
All the amazing tech and research.
Maybe one day we'll be talking to our voice assistant.
Right.
Just like we talk to each other.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.